Exultia is one of the most fascinating levels in Doom Eternal, and recently it was all broken down by game director Hugo Martin. I personally love hearing about id Software's creative process and their approach to level design, which is why I'm looking forward to more game director playthroughs in the future. Anyway, Exultia is the level where everything starts to open up in Doom Eternal and the player acquires several upgrades along the way. The Flame Belch, the Dash, and the Blood Punch, which are arguably the most valuable abilities in the game, are all introduced in Exultia. I also think that the transition from this medieval castle setting in Exultia to Hell is incredible, and it adds so much variety to the level. How can I not mention the purple goo and how that sneaks its way into Exultia for the first time in Doom Eternal as well? Hugo Martin explains all of this, and it's quite interesting.
Frustration is a part of engagement. I mean, not everything about the game in the individual parts necessarily needs to be without a certain amount of frustration that comes with it. This is a pace breaker throughout the experience, and again, we take away one of the purpose of the goo. A, it changes the pace of the game, but B, it forces the player to utilize the mods and the tools that we gave them. So we take away their movement, but we still leave, so it emphasizes other parts of the fun zone and encourages players to invest in those parts.
I think all of us were like, Hugo! Somewhere.
Well, and what I like about the placement of that Arachnotron, we actually spent a lot of time, you know, setting this whole thing up. Like, there's a lot of thought that goes into every inch of this game, and this is one of those moments where you're just making sure that, like, all right, so I'm slowing you down, you can't move, here's a long-range enemy, but they have a weak point that I could minimize their effectiveness, and I'm going to have to do it, or otherwise I'm going to die because I can't move. So it's combining, you know, those elements together to create this is what we would consider to be in the studio an incidental combat puzzle. So it's not an arena. This whole sequence here, from the time that I walked down into here, came through all this piece and arrived here. This is all incidental combat.
I always thought that the purple goo was designed to be a pace breaker, and that speculation was confirmed in the Exultia stream. What I didn't pick up on was that the purple sludge was also put there to make your weapon mods have additional use. Since you don't have access to your full mobility with the dash or double jump, you have to rely on your weapon mods to keep you safe from Arachnotrons firing and the tentacles that pop up out of nowhere. I still think it was not a great idea to put it in the same level that you received the dash, because players might feel insane whiplash from zipping about arenas and moving fast to then walking like a snail in purple goo. Now, I'm not saying it should have been cut from the game entirely. If the game director wants it to be in the game, then there's a reason for it, but it shouldn't have been on the same level as the dash mechanics introduction, as it feels like two conflicting ideas. That being said, I'm glad that I have an extended explanation on the purple goo, and even though I feel like it's handled better in Art Complex, as it's a punishment for bad arena movement, I'm still fascinated by these developer walkthroughs. The purple goo is supposed to make you rely on your weapon mods, and they deliberately place Arachnotrons in your way to teach you that. I never picked up on this reason for the purple goo existing, and I have newfound appreciation for the purple sludge. Do I think it's the best feature in the world? No, and I doubt that id Software does either. However, it is a pace breaker and gives you a bit of downtime between arenas. The branching path in the purple goo that Hugo points out is great as well, and it reminded me of classic Doom in the sense of it giving you some choice on where to go next. There is an easier path on the right that leads straight up to the top and it has no purple goo, or there is an area on the left with purple sludge and a tentacle, but also a reward for your troubles.
And look, the path is this way, but we give you an option here, you know, and we reward you for exploring. So another good level design trick is, you know, you provide the player with those. Anytime the player wonders to themselves, you want to create these scenarios where they wonder to themselves, I wonder if, and if you want to deliver in those moments.
Players have to make this choice, and for those who decided to go to the left, they were rewarded with a Sentinel Crystal. The scope of Exultia was discussed as well in the developer walkthrough, and yeah, I totally see where Hugo Martin is coming from. Traversing through the hell section of Exultia feels like this gigantic task, and as you're climbing up and you look at where you've been, it's truly remarkable. The craftsmanship on display in Exultia is incredible, and while it may not be the best level in the game, I look at it in a whole new light now. The way that you see these colossal figures in the background at first, and then you get to climb on them to progress, is wonderful level design, and it makes you feel like a badass for some reason. You aren't doing anything that extraordinary, but the game makes you feel good by getting up to the top of this figure that only moments before you saw from a distance and awed at. While the first section of Exultia looked nice and was a great contrast from the first level, Hell on Earth, the second portion of the level is just incredible. These huge statues really sell the second half of Exultia for me, and you don't even realize that you went on this long journey until you wind up on the top of this giant figure. I didn't give enough credit to Exultia on my first time playing the game, but it has to introduce a ton of new mechanics and expand the scope of the Doom universe, and it does both pretty successfully. Everything in Doom Eternal is handcrafted, and even the perhaps annoying sections like the purple slime is intentional. They want you to change up how you play for those purple goo sections so it becomes instilled in you for the rest of the game. Exultia might not be the most impressive level in terms of gameplay or arenas or whatever, but remember, it has to do a lot of legwork to catch you up to speed on the game's new mechanics. I'm glad that Doom Eternal front-loads all this new information so that by the time we get up to Super Gornest and beyond, everything feels perfectly natural. Like I've said in previous videos, it's not like Doom Eternal isn't fun until you get up to Super Gornest. Glory killing demons and learning all of the new mechanics is exciting, albeit a little daunting, but it's a good type of daunting, where you would say, I might not understand all of this now, but I will, and that's the fun of it. Hugo Martin has said that Doom Eternal is a commercial product after all, so they want it to be entertaining first and foremost. And yeah, it is. Don't get my words twisted, Doom Eternal is not one of those slow burn games that takes 20 hours to actually get good. I do not like those type of games, and if Doom Eternal was like that, I would have said so by now. Regardless, Exultia is a rather underrated level, but I have learned to appreciate it even more now, and I'm glad we have experienced it in the eyes of the director. Thanks for watching.